Growing up, I was always told, invest in the property market and you will become rich. I remember people around me saying, if you have 1, 2, 3 properties, you're living life. You've basically made it in your life. And I now wouldn't actually buy a house, and I want to tell you exactly why I wouldn't and why I wouldn't invest in the property market. In the UK alone, properties are, 200, 300, 400,000 pounds, and sometimes you get something cheaper, but you have to go up north. I am closer to London, but if you get a property up north, maybe Manchester or Newcastle or Dudley, you'll be looking at something like, 50, 60,000 pounds. It's possible you can get something like that. You see, the problem is, I don't really have that sort of money. I don't have 200 or 300,000 pounds, and I'm sure you guys will be like, well, why don't you just get something on mortgage? And then I'd have to be the guy to tell you, well, I am a Muslim, and for Muslims, we can't indulge in interest, and so if we can't indulge in interest, then mortgages are not permissible. And that also includes those Islamic mortgages as well. But is there another way? If I'm not going to invest in properties, if I'm not going to buy a house, am I just going to rent? And am I just not going to invest in the most lucrative investment there probably is? Yes, I am. But let me tell you other things I would rather invest. But before I tell you other things that I would rather invest in, I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't also invest in properties. From my perspective, think of it like this. A property is going to cost you 200, 300, 400,000 pounds, and you could go down the mortgage route. That's not okay for me. But let's just say it is okay. I'll just give you that example and say it's okay. 200,000 pounds, you're gonna put down 20,000 pounds as a deposit. Now you've taken a loan out from the bank, and based on the interest, you probably owe back 380,000 pounds over 30 years, roughly. But you're going to tell me, well, actually, yes, but I can rent that house on a 200,000 pounds. Maybe you can get, I don't know, £1,000 a month. That's being very, very nice. But let's say you can get £1,000 a month. So on £20,000, you will get a property and you're basically getting a return of £1,000 a month. So in a year, £12,000. But that's not true because you have to pay your mortgage. So if you're paying your mortgage, the likelihood is you're probably left with, I don't know, 300 pounds. But I know some of you guys will say, but the property is going up in value, and so technically I'm making a lot of money on appreciation. And is that true? I don't believe so, because look, one house goes up in value, so does the other one, and so does the other one. Your next door neighbor's house goes up, and so does your house go up. So if every house is going up in value, technically that's appreciation in the product, and that's not necessarily making profit. What that therefore means is, if over 5 years that 200,000 pound house somehow made it to 300,000 pound and you sold it, would you have made 100,000 pound? Well, technically no, not if you go buy another house, because if you go buy another house, the house price of that house will also go up, and in that instance, actually, you've not made a profit. You've just inflated the house prices and therefore spent the same money, and you haven't really kept that money. So for 300, 400 pound a month and the apparent profit that I make a year, I don't think it's the right investment for me. But I do think there are other investments that I would rather do than just buy a house. And so, for example, for me, if I had 20,000 pound, I would rather put it into a business which actually I believe I can make a decent amount of profit. I genuinely believe I could make something out of £20,000 rather than putting it into a house and sitting on that and paying a mortgage on it for 30 years. That honestly is not for me. I would rather put £20,000 into stocks, which I believe over the next 5 to 10 years would appreciate in, value, rather than actually putting the same amount into a house. See, this isn't something that I say. This is actually something the big billionaires and the millionaires, and they actually say. If you read into their books and if you read into their philosophy, they always say something exactly, well, I'm paraphrasing to what Warren Buffett said when asked, when should you buy a house? He said, well, buying a house is as if you're taking the tools off a business person or entrepreneur. If you take the tools away, then you can't start a business. What he was saying is, if you have 20 or 30,000 pounds and you go buy a house, now you've got no money to make money. There's no hiding away from the fact that money makes money. And so putting that into a house, now you don't have any tools to make or start a business for yourself. But to be honest, there is one time where property investment is actually a great investment, and that's when you buy the property, hopefully outright, and then you fix it up and you sell it on. That, no doubt, can make you a lot of money. My point today is not to tell you guys to just not invest in property. My point is to actually give you guys an idea to how much other things you can do, i.e. business, i.e. stocks, i.e. investing in yourself, because if you don't know how to actually become successful, how will you ever become successful? I mean, how many people do you know that have become rich and wealthy from the middle class of just buying a house? If you just buy a house and sit on that for 30 years, there's a lot less chance you're going to get to a level where you have the wealth that you want. A lot of people right now are actually stressing themselves out thinking, I need to buy my house. At the age of 20, you're told you need to buy your house. When you buy your house, you'll be successful. And this video is for you guys because there's a lot of people who are stressing about their first house. And this is my message to you. Don't stress. There's a lot other ways you can become successful and wealthy, and actually, rather than just concentrate on buying a house, and unfortunately, people are falling into a lot of haram by doing that as well, and so you don't need to. You honestly don't need to. In fact, have faith in yourself, believe in yourself, and start something for yourself. That's always going to be so much better for you. You will learn so much. You will start something. Even if your business makes you £500 extra a month, honestly speaking, it's probably going to be a better investment than just putting it into a property and sitting on it. So I hope this video was of benefit to you guys. If it was, then make sure to like and share, and obviously subscribe if you haven't. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.